happy. An error occurred. Is that the YouTube error? No, it's working. Oh my goodness.
Ah, Jazz Collective. And so far, she's been the only woman in the SF Jazz Collective. So if you
Oh.
think that that should change, maybe let SF Jazz know.
Oh, that's cool. What a beautiful group.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was really lovely.
Laura has been wonderful. We do all these concerts called Jazz She Wrote, and as you saw, there are four females there, and all women composers. So, and she's really great at finding wonderful tunes and transcribing them and bringing them to the group. So she does all the heavy lifting, and we get to have all the fun.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Mimi Mayer is here. um, yeah, so um, Mary and I were introduced by a mutual cohort, Mike Hatfield, who maybe some of you know, and maybe some of you saw our interview. I went to college with him, and Mary did a whole bunch of casual work with him, and more, and uh, we were we were uh, we were musing over how technically he's our guru, and and anyway, so that's how we met. People always ask me, how do you meet all these people? I was like, well, about 50% I know, and 50% I.
We're so interrelated. I mean, anytime you meet somebody new, you instantly realize how many friends in common you have in the
Yeah,
music world, at least. Yeah, for sure.
jazz world especially. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's really true all over the planet, and I'm always amazed. Like, since I've been doing this, I I'm just I know it's kind of a duh thing, but I'm always amazed how many of us are actually doing it all over the planet, and doing some really beautiful, beautiful things too. It's really I don't know, humbling. It's really good, nice.
And I have this conversation a lot with my musician buddies about how lucky we are because we find that when we run into old classmates from high school or whatever, most people are not that thrilled with the work they do. They just do it, and we love it. We can't wait for the next one.
Yeah,
So that's a really fortunate livelihood to be so excited about going to work. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you can call it work.
Yeah, exactly. No, we get paid to get there. That's my deal. We play for fun, but we get paid to get there.
Paul Yanamura. I don't know if you know Paul.
We just played on the first. My
Oh,
first concert of the year was with Paul.
oh, cool. He's a nice group, Mary, and great to see you
Oh,
here.
yeah. Oh.
Hi, Paul. It's been a
Hi,
minute.
Paul.
See, that's one person.
There you go.
Yeah, I haven't seen Paul for a while. Anyway, so, well, I mean, the list of who you've played with is, pretty wonderful. And, but of course, I'm sure a lot of people like start off with the Stan Kenton thing. But before we get into playing with Stan Kenton, how that was, um, it would be nice. We did speak a little bit before this we came on, but you know, give us the approach. Like how you don't have to give every single detail, but what was the approach to that point, Stan Ken? You were young when you got
Yes,
in, right?
I turned 22 weeks before I joined the band. Yeah, I was
My
young.
God.
Yeah, a babe in the woods. Yeah. Um, I loved music. When I was in high school, the boys were playing in the jazz band. I was like, I want to do that. The band director said, oh, we go on trips, so we couldn't really have a girl. And so I was able to convince him to let me in by bringing my best friend along on the trips. And then so that was my junior year. And then my senior year she got in too. So then there were two of us in the
Oh,
band. So I was very lucky. We had an amazing program. I My path was always to be a band teacher because girls don't do what I do,
yeah,
or didn't, I should
yeah,
say.
yeah.
So I ended up at UCLA on a music ed path.
Yeah.
And but what got me on Stan's band is he had these residence camps And my band teacher, not only did he decide to let me in my junior year, he sent me to this camp on a full scholarship down at University of Redlands. So before I was in the band, I was doing the camp and learned a ton, and I was just hooked. And I ended up going the next 2 years as well. And the next 2 years, I played lead alto in the top band, which was, I don't know, 15 bands or something like that. And lots of, so many of the people that are heavy hitters that went to those camps at the
Yeah.
same time. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So being in the top band, Stan would always sit in the front row for the final concert. And so he knew what people were doing, and he saw me 2 years in a row playing lead there. And I also was invited that last year, the Saturday, the day after the camp ends, they would always hold this new music sight reading session for band directors. So the publishers would give them all this music to read, and the band directors in the audience checking what they're going to buy. I mean, this is before TV. I've been being a little bit silly, but you know what I mean. There was none of the stuff we have these days. So that's how that. So I got invited because I don't know if you know how the sax section was in the Kenton band. It was one alto, two tenors, and two baries. The standard sax section is two altos, two tenors, and a bari. So I got asked to be the other alto player for that. So he got to hear me sight read. He got to hear me play. And then I'm at Disneyland, back when you could pay $2 to go to Disneyland because you needed an e-ticket for the best ride and all that good stuff. But you could get in the park for $2. Went to go see him at Carnation Plaza, and he saw me in the audience and came over on the break and said, Mary, I've been looking for you. I want you to be in the band at Disneyland, where dreams come true.
What did
So
you
that's
do you
that's
remember your first reaction about to that?
I held it in until I got in the car and I screamed the whole way home out the window. I tried to be cool. I mean, at that time I would have been 18, because that night something big ruptured in his chest. He ended up being in the hospital. He almost died that night. Like, I'm waiting all the next day because, again, a phone call, you got to be there to take a phone. There wasn't any of the stuff we
Yeah.
have these days. Waiting for the call that never happened until late that day. He's in ICU and says, yeah, it'll be, yeah, this is on hold. And it ended up being another year later. So it was like 2 weeks after my 20th birthday. He wanted me to join 2 weeks earlier, but I said, can I please take my finals? I was at UCLA and I didn't want to waste that whole quarter.
Yeah.
So he was very good about letting me finish that. So I joined up with him in Chicago at the age of 20 and 2 weeks.
So, and um, yeah, I was thinking about that. Of course, one can't help but think like, you know, is it a bus filled
Hmm.
with guys? And so, um, yeah, was it? Let me say this: was it distracting for you? Because you must have been getting a lot of attention.
Yeah. Um, I loved music. I loved his music particularly. Our director, because we had such a great program, we played a lot of Kenton's music in our jazz band in high
Yeah,
school. So it was a dream I wouldn't dream, just like I
yeah,
don't dream to be a quarterback for the Niners.
yeah,
So I was just so excited about being able to go out and play Kenton music every day. But I
yeah,
was a freak. I was the freak because I was the first girl.
yeah.
And pretty much every day I was doing an interview.
Oh,
Um, and what 20-year-old knows anything? I mean, now they would because of all the social, people know how to do
yeah.
it. My first radio interview was a national interview, and I'm sure my side of the conversation would have been, uh-huh, yeah, no, 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 or this. What does a kid know? So that part I really did not like. That was really tough. I just wanted
Yeah,
to play music and be merry. The guys were great. We're just all bunch of youngsters. Most of us were in our
yeah.
20s.
Oh,
Two
yeah.
people were younger. Peter Erskine was a year younger than me, and then Kim
Oh,
Park was 2 years younger than me. So, but most of us were in our 20s. The old ones were like in their early 30s.
okay.
So, yeah, yeah.
And how long, how intense was the tour? Was it It was tours, right?
Well, he was just out at that point. He was out all year long, and you're in a different town every day. So you get up the next morning, roll onto the bus. We all had our two seats and the area above and below, and you put your suitcase underneath the bus. Whatever time we're leaving, if it's 7:30, the bus is going to leave at 7:30. So if you're not on the bus, you're getting yourself to the next city.
Yeah.
So pretty much 7 days would be seven towns, seven cities, whatever. Sometimes very little time in the hotel. Really,
Yeah.
once in a while you had enough time to find a laundromat, but otherwise you get to your hotel, you wash your stuff and hang it up.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat, day in
Yeah.
and day out. Maybe one day off a month.
Wow.
Yeah. But you're a kid. That's great. You want to play the music.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
good, and you can sleep on a bus, sleep on a plane, sleep on. I mean, you end up really preferring a bus over a plane because with the plane you have to actually pack everything up and schlep it through an airport, whereas the bus you just
Yeah.
put your suitcase under, get on, and go back to sleep. I had a pillow and a blanket. I just go back to sleep in my seat.
Yeah.
So,
And how long were you on the road with them?
just half a year.
Yeah. And did you leave because you wanted to what
It's complicated. It's complicated. Um, yeah.
yeah. Okay. We won't go there.
Yeah.
Leilani Carino Kirby says
Oh,
hello.
hello.
Hello, how are you? So yeah, it's anyway, that's um okay. So we went to Stan Kenton and um so were you like the main soloist too?
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
In fact, I had the great pleasure. I'm still learning. And I know as any musician, we all are,
Yeah.
right? We just absorb and we get into the head of different people. What was really funny, I told you what the instrumentation was the sax for the sax section. So going into the band, the lead alto player, who was phenomenal, was a tenor player. The two tenors, which I came in on tenor, you come in on the chair that's open. Both of us were alto players before the band, and then the two Barry players were tenor players before being on the band. So we were all not playing our main instrument to start with, but I went out on lead alto because he had a heart attack. John did.
Oh,
But John Park was just one of the most brilliant saxophone players ever. And I got to sit next to that and go to saxophone school every day, just absorbing him. And one of the things that I learned instantly my first night on the band was you had to go down front for your solo with no music or anything, right? I didn't get a rehearsal. I'm just on the band now. Yesterday they had somebody else, and today there I am. And he said, "Yeah, you have to go down to the mic." And I said, "But what about the changes?" He goes, "No." He says, "Just hum the melody." And that was like I can like on my hand I can mention like life-changing bits of advice I've had in my life because that's the way I moved from that day forward. I don't remember what the tune was, but it was I think it was a pop tune of the time, 73. But I that's how I've learned tunes by ear. Is I hear the melody not in a vacuum, but it's attached to this harmony, so I can just hear all of this coming off the melody notes. So from that day forward, that's how I've heard chord changes. I mean, I can read changes and navigate, that way too. But that was incredible to have that lesson.
that's interesting. One of my dear friends who's passed now, really great guitar player named Barry Zweig. I mean, he was kind of like a Jim Hall,
Hmm.
really wonderful player. And yeah, I'm always asking instrumentalists how they think, because I mean, why wouldn't you? And he said when he solos, he hears the melody.
Yeah.
So, which actually surprised me big time. And yeah, I never forgot it.
Well, you being a vocalist, I've always thought of the voice as the ideal. Play like you would sing if you could sing, right? If you have that. I've always thought that way. And then when Tony Bennett died, who I had the pleasure of playing with him a number of times, doing all these tributes, and there's this interview where he's talking about, yeah, I try to sing like a horn player. And it's like, oh, That just flips this whole thing because I've always thought of the voice as the ideal. We want to think like we're singing our lines, and here he is, thinking like a horn player.
Well, that's an interesting kind of line in for a conversation because I think I think after years of observing this and experiencing it, I think that it's I don't know how to put it. It's like a very personal perspective that if you and I said the same words to somebody to describe it, it actually would be different.
Right.
Even if we said the same words,
Of course, yeah.
right? So I think that is like along those lines. I think that, I mean, as a singer, if I'm communicating, that's really vague, but if I'm actually really in the space where I'm communicating the message of the lyrics, then pretty much everything works around it. Everything works. If I focus too much on well, forget like analyzing yourself or I mean, but that's with every instrument. You don't want to be analyzing yourself as you're playing because that's a whole other space, right? But also, um, if well, there's so many layers, isn't there?
Of course,
If
yeah.
if I'm improvising, mostly what I want to do is look ahead, and that is like a magic wand. So yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to that, but
Well,
yeah,
and you talking about lyrics, so many of my tunes, I when I got off the road, I ended up in Springfield, Missouri, where they had all these dance clubs that they danced to standards. Well, before joining the Kenton band, I was playing like Miles tunes and Coltrane and Charlie Parker and things like that. Nothing that would be commercial. So I'm learning on the job with no music. I'm learning my standards that way. And I've always considered the lyrics, even though I'm not great at remembering all the lyrics, what my exposure to tunes were with the lyrics. And I'll talk to my students about that. You just took a breath in the middle of a word just then. Have you listened to anybody sing this song? And it's just the best way I think, to go about it when you're doing standards, hear it, hear how people are interpreting it. And the more you can hear different vocalists interpret the same song, gives you a lot of thought, a lot of input to come up with your approach.
yeah, that's interesting. That's a little more than I've heard. I mean, usually I hear piano players and drummers for some reason talk about knowing the lyrics.
Hmm.
Yeah, and but a breath in the middle of it. Yeah,
Of a word. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool. Yeah, very cool.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And breath is fun, like that's you need breath to do what you do too. Is it has so much to do with how I decide I'm going to phrase something. So in an ideal world, we always fully tank up every time we breathe. Well, oftentimes we just take that breath that we need to exist instead of being, a musician. That I like to kind of play with expectations. Like we like our 4-bar phrases. Maybe I want to create some tension by not taking that breath that would happen at the beginning of this phrase. So it creates this dynamic and tension that if I hang on to it until the next musical place to take a breath, not, I'm gasping, I better take a breath now. So it has to be, I have to decide in that moment, do I have the tank full enough to pull this off? But it's another expressive thing we can do is kind of mess with the expectation of where the phrasing is going to be.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of fascinated with breath actually because in my singing, well, first of all, I have a chronic cough
Ah,
that I've had for 30 years.
oh my.
So that has actually forced me sometimes to phrase differently,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm still
Right.
being the artist, but I
Yeah.
have to kind of take into consideration, am I going to cough or
Ah,
did I just cough or can I
wow.
stick my lozenge in my mouth or, anything like that. But
Sure.
even aside from that, breath is, I can't tell you how many, well, you probably know, but as a vocalist, so many different points of view of breath. Oy, oy, oy. You
Mhm.
know, expand your lower ribs. Okay, well, that's kind of a common thing. But recently I was talking to somebody who said their teacher said, don't even worry about the breath. Just you're that's the wrong thing to focus on. And then there's the singing teachers who say expand and then kind of hold it out there, not hold the breath, but the muscle. I mean, there's so much about breath. And then of course the resonance. So you have probably, I'm guessing, a combined resonance that you're aware of.
Interestingly, I have a master's in flute performance. Um,
Okay.
and I had an amazing when I got off the road in Springfield, Missouri. I just got so lucky to have this incredible flute teacher who I didn't have instruction in flute. I always loved flute. At UCLA, if you were a music ed major, you didn't get private lessons. So I got group lessons with Sheridan Stokes on flute and group lessons with Gary Gray on clarinet and saxophone. And it's kind of like, you have whatever, 8 or 10 of us in a room and each of us plays our 5 minutes or whatever. That's kind of how lessons went up to that point, which I still got a lot out of it. But we weren't working on rep or anything. I wasn't doing like you would if you were a flute major. When I got off the road, at this college, you had to have a major instrument, even though I was still a music ed person, because I thought that I was just going to go from Stan Kenton and hide out because of all that attention that came my way from being with Stan. Um, and I was able to be a flute major. I don't know why. I just she had a lot of work to do, but I took it on. And so in 5 semesters, I basically did what if I was a kid growing up as a flutist, all the rep you would have done before you went to college, and then what you would have done and did junior and senior recitals. And she could tell, I mean, I'm a reader. I'm good with theory, so she would give me exercise where she'd just tell me what it is instead of here's your book, which is great for continuing to develop all of that. But 3 octave range on the flute. So that was such a lucky thing because a great deal of the work I do it's because my flute is at the level of my saxophone playing, and a lot of what I do I'm playing both sax and flute, if not a couple like soprano. Yeah, there we go.
This is my old flute that I started on. I mean, I've got it cleaned up, and I did take a lesson during the pandemic. I still have an embouchure, but I don't play it enough.
Yeah.
I just there's other things that my attention is on, but I do like the flute. I've always actually wanted to play alto flute, but then because I didn't play enough,
Hmm.
I didn't think it warranted spending the money on an alto flute. So
Well, my family, I have pick through bass, and I only just got the bass this last year or the year before. Because a friend up here has been doing these Mancini concerts, and as you know, Mancini loved those low flutes. And I think it's on That's All that it's a bass flute feature. And I was borrowing one, but if you're never playing it, you're not practicing it. I borrow it just for the day of the rehearsal
yeah,
and the day of it's like, okay, it's time to just,
it's
go
a
ahead and
really
get.
different,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
flow.
it's very fun. But I've had my alto flute for a long time. I have a Haynes alto flute that has more than paid it for itself. It's just the difference between having an Armstrong and having the Haynes was just night and day.
Really.
So yeah, I love them.
Yeah. I remember really liking piccolo when I was in college, just the feeling and the sound, and it's just, I don't know, there was something about piccolo that was really cool.
Um, yeah, it depends. What I
What
was
you're
doing,
playing, right?
I told you I spent 16 years playing Broadway shows in San Francisco, including the 5 year run of Phantom. And I remember and I was always in the lead chair. So it was usually the little horns. And one of the shows had a high B, like for 4 measures, a high B on pick. And I'm just telling my neighbors, I didn't write the book, put in earplugs. I'm just doing what the book's telling me to do. I would put in that earplug for sure. But who had that idea? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I have a lovely wooden Haynes, and it's definitely a good sounding instrument for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But it's not what I take out when I feel like playing something.
Playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'll play my flute all day long.
Les DeMerle is here. Do you know Les?
Oh, my goodness. There's a name. Wow.
He's an
Hello.
old friend of mine. I guess he's in Mexico, hanging out in the warm weather, huh, Les? You and
Nice.
Bonnie? Okay, nice to hear from you. Um, yeah, so, yeah, actually, I would like to play that one. Is that the first thing that you sent me? It was a flute piece, right? Nana?
Oh, well, I don't know what order they came in. Nana would have been from Mark Levine's Latin Grammy nominated album.
Is that you on flute, right? Is that the
Oh,
one that
yeah.
I heard? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this whole album was a tribute to Monsieur Santos. And
Oh,
yeah, he was doing all these arrangements actually for a flute convention. And he calls me and he says, I'm arranging all this music. How would you like to play a concert of it? Since I'm putting all the time in it. It was like, yeah, that's great. And probably the next day or the day after, he goes, how would you like to record it too? So
now was this on whose record?
Mark Levine, the piano
Yeah,
player,
yeah.
yeah,
And so what record was that called?
Off and On, which is one of the Mosier tunes on it.
The Nana or Off and On?
Off and On is the name of the record. Nana is from that record, so it's a Mosier tune. And we got a
Oh, okay,
Latin
okay.
Grammy nomination for that record, and it was fun. You're going to kind of get that common thread about me being female and like what I'm not supposed to be involved in whatever I'm involved in. So he and I went to Las Vegas for the Grammys, and it's kind of cool when you're nominated. And then they have the green carpet, completely ignoring me like I'm his girlfriend or something, like and asking questions. And it was like, okay, I get this. I'm not Mary. I'm not the one that has all the solos on this record. Like all the reviews were about me, right? And Mark is going, you should pay for this record since you're getting all the. But that was kind of like, yeah, it's just so typical. Like,
I'm getting ready to play it. Sorry.
cool.
I
Yeah.
actually found it on Spotify because I just want to show a picture as well.
Oh, okay.
So, Nana, yeah, I loved Monsieur Santos. He lived here for a long time, and
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, we got invited. He was from Recife, Brazil. And we
uh-huh.
got invited down there, and we did it to play Monsieur Santos Festival. So that was really cool to be in his town there.
Really, yeah. What
Yeah.
a beautiful man. Yeah, really
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that.
It was
Kathy,
fun.
I'm going to go back and listen to this because Kathy was, of course, because my name is Kathy.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And April Child.
Yeah.
Remember those.
Yeah. So many great tunes. Yeah.
Yeah, he was so wonderful. He used to have this gig here at a place called the Comeback Inn, which was kind of a famous, low key hang in Venice Beach.
Uh-huh.
And he had this gig there kind of regularly. And he would have a number, like, I don't know, a number of horn players in the band. But many times he would just create the music right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he would just tell people what to play, and then, yeah, it was wonderful. He was such a
I know Mark played with him a lot down there when he would live down there. Mark Levine, that was his
yeah,
connection to him. But I never had the privilege, um,
yeah,
had the
beautiful.
privilege of working with other wonderful Brazilians. But yeah,
Yeah, I know those Brazilian people.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, that was really pretty, and your flute playing's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, um, so your career, like the list of people that you've played with, was that in a lot of that was that in their bands, or was it like on stage, like productions?
It depends. Like I have a funny story about Tito Puente. That was my first Latin gig, was Tito
Oh,
Puente.
okay.
Usually you kind of work your way up.
Yeah.
Um, and the fun thing is, I was recommended, and Jimmy Frisura was his trumpet and manager. I mean, like he would get together bands. Like they had a core band that they traveled with this wonderful saxophone player, Mario Rivera. And sometimes they had to augment the band. He's on tenor and flute with an alto, me, and a Barry in the saxes, just add one or two in each of the horn sections and then travel the rhythm section. And so when I was recommended, Jimmy's like, "Oh, no, no, you gotta have somebody that can, no, call Mary." Well, no, no. And he finally relented. It was really funny. So then he spent the rest of our relationship apologizing for not wanting to give me a chance. But I ended up doing two records with them, with Tito, and going back to my first road tour, Stan Kenton. I told you how if the bus was leaving at 7:30 and you're not on the bus, bam. So that was how I learned how to be on the road. You may have heard of the expression Latin time, like from the very
Is it
beginning.
like Italian time?
Oh my gosh. It's like, and I just couldn't be late for anything. I know that they were going to, like the first time I played with him, the rehearsal was at SIR in San Francisco. I'm there early, like I always am, and they show up like maybe a couple hours after the prescribed rehearsal time. I mean, that was how it would always be. Um, and, and then the gigs would be, except for like Concord Jazz Festival, things like that. But if it was a bunch of bands, we'd be the last. He's the headliner, so we'll start at 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever. But I would say, I could just show up a little late. No, no, you're Mary. You don't do that. You don't show up late. But this being my first time doing Latin music, and I can read. I told you I'm a reader. We start, and I'm going. The bass is like you can hear it down the street, right? It's so prevalent, right? And I'm going, where's one? Because I had no experience with that, right?
Right.
Okay, I've never not known where one is. So you put your ears out there and you find the cowbell, and that's how I got grounded. Now I don't think twice about it, obviously, but the very first time was with him. It wasn't like playing in a Latin band and learning how that all goes. But somehow I survived, and Jimmy would call me to put together the horn section, so it all worked out,
Yeah.
over
That's
that period of
cool. Yeah.
time. Yeah, and Tito had played with Stan Kenton.
Oh,
So I remember us waiting to play in Las Vegas, like a whatever, a 2 a.m. hit, whatever it was, and just kind of sharing Kenton stories because, Kenton loved that, the Latin percussion and, what Tito did. So that was kind of a neat little
Yeah,
connection. Yeah.
yeah. Did you end up writing or arranging?
No. And the funny thing is, I have been just so lucky from day one, like the music in the Kenton band, the writers for that band. It's just so phenomenal, and you just get to be a part of that sound and get to play that music. And I've just been so lucky to just get to play with phenomenal writers. And it's like, well, why should I try when I can't begin to be like this? And the funny thing is, when I've had conversations decades in with people, in fact, one of them was with Gordon Goodwin a couple decades ago, because we were both at the Canton camps as kids. And then this guy that the Brazilian piano player that produced and is on my album, saying, with Marco saying, you have never written anything I haven't loved. He said, oh, you used to see all the stuff in the drawer that didn't make the cut. And Gordon said the same thing. And every time I've talked to writers, they'll say the same thing. It's like, you just got to do it. And so I tell my students, don't be me. Don't be afraid. Just do a lot of bad stuff, and learn from each thing. So I'm saying this because when Carl Jefferson from Concord Records, he called me in to his office and he said, I want to do a record with you, and I want to have you playing with known people. And those known people were Marion McPartland, Ray Brown on bass, Jeff Hamilton on drums, and Peter Sprague on guitar. So I want you to do that and play, standards like known people, tunes that people know, and then put one or two of your tunes on. And I didn't say, well, I don't write. So I went home and wrote a tune, and it ended up on the American Airlines playlist. Now, did I write another song? No. I just felt, that's the old emperor wear no clothes, the fool them, whatever. But, in my Brazilian Footprints record that I did, it's a collection of wonderful writers, including Marcos. That whole experience of self-producing, I paid for every penny of everything to do with that record, and also trying to track down Brazilian composers to give them their money because they weren't signed up with Harry Fox. Just all of that headache, which is well worth it. But I just said, I'm really happy I did this one. If I ever do another one, which we'll see, it's going to be because I've written it. So there we are. No, the answer is no.
Yeah.
But I've just informed my students that at the end of May I'm going to stop teaching,
Oh,
and that's something I'm hoping will take up some of my attention is to write, because obviously we're absorbing every time we're
yeah,
playing, or even when we're in an elevator. We're absorbing.
yeah.
So yeah,
I would
so
imagine that I would imagine that you would write some really beautiful things.
I've got a
Because,
lot of thoughts. Yeah.
yeah,
But it's still like afraid to fail, I guess. I'm just, like, okay, I can't write at the level that I'm used to playing,
yeah,
the stuff that I'm used to, because I haven't written, like, okay, I can. So that's kind of, I mentioned that to one of my sons last night, that when I stopped teaching that I could be maybe start writing. So,
I think the key to writing is to kind of commit to it.
right.
Um, there's a book called Big Magic that was written by, um, I forget her name, but she wrote Eat, Pray, and Love.
Ah,
And so that was a huge hit
yeah,
and became a movie. And,
right. Yeah.
and people were always asking her, what are you going to do now? You
Yeah.
know, and but in Big Magic was really a great book, a very user friendly kind of book on allowing yourself to be creative. It's
Hmm.
really nice reading. But so she said in that book that when she first started writing when she was younger, she decided that she was going to be a writer, and she committed to writing every day,
Hmm.
and she always did.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is every time she would start a new project, at first it would be very, creative and exciting, right? And then after just a little bit of time, she would feel frustrated or bored or like, it's not so good. But she had to write the next day because that was her
That
commitment.
was a commitment. Yeah.
Always came out of it. And it
Nice.
always happened every time she started a new project. And then she just got used to that. It was like, here's the part where I, crash and burn, and tomorrow it's going to be fine. So
That's a good one.
it's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to know those kind of things because, yeah, writing is, you know, writing is interesting. I mean, for me, it's been very, what do I say, like almost like a painter, like goes through the red period and then the blue period. And so I've written things that have been very jazzy and interesting and changing keys in them and, just cool. And then I've written super, super simple stuff like folky,
Hmm.
and for a period of time, I stopped writing kind of purposefully because the songs that I was writing were not jazzy enough for me.
Hmm.
And then I spoke to, thank you so much. I, sp-
I use the small one, like you want, the medium one,
oh, thank you. Thank you.
like that.
My slave.
All right.
It's really great.
Everybody needs a slave.
And so, anyway, so, um, uh, so what was I saying?
Well, just talking about that commitment to writing and going through different periods in the writing.
Yeah. Oh, that moment. I actually talked to an artist, a painter,
Hmm.
and he said something which I wish I remembered what he said exactly because it was very momentous for me. That made me realize that I had stopped allowing myself to be creative. And so then I just started, if I write a stupid song, so what? I can throw it away.
Yeah.
But at least I don't stop the flow, you
Yeah.
know. And that's what's important, I think, for
I suppose part of my excuse is I play flutes, clarinets, and saxes for a living, and
yeah.
so that takes up a lot of time to keep up. Um,
Oh, yeah.
just to do my practice period, but then I have a lot of music to learn all the
Yes.
time, and
Yes.
music that kicks my butt. Otherwise, I wouldn't be happy doing it. So
Yeah.
there's that. I just flashed on one of the people that was just one of the thrills of a lifetime was to play with Red Skelton. Um, you couldn't have a more wonderfully sweet person who you're busting a gut. He's so funny, and there's no hint of blue in his show at all. But you may know that he wrote a tune a day and painted every day.
I don't think I did know that.
Okay, so he wrote the music that we played. Hello.
Wow.
Oh, and we had an orchestra, and he came around and introduced himself to everybody individually. Came over
Oh,
and shook your hand, and yeah, just such a inspiration, and especially the way over the decades humor has gotten. Not that if it's well done, I don't care, whatever. But the fact that you could have a child in that audience,
yeah.
you're laughing your head off, and there's nothing that you got to go. Oh, close your ears. No hints of any of that. That was definitely one of those. I'm lucky, pinch me. I get paid to be here. So
It's really nice. I love meeting uh, great artists like that who
yeah,
have humility and they know who they are. They're not their fame is not because they're trying to prove something. It's
right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What you'd see in his TV show or whatever on stage, that's who he was. Just
That's lovely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
I hope to get there. Hope to carve out the
yeah.
time where I don't feel like. I mean, I love to practice. I'm a practice nerd. I mean, this is my music room here. It's a good sized room where I can have a pretty good sized band in here to rehearse and the whole bit. So,
So when you
um,
practice yourself, what do you practice in general?
well, I do technique a lot first. That's first and foremost is to have the sound and the embouchure control and all that stuff. So when I miss out, um, sometimes I miss a couple, 3 days, I really notice that, just in terms of that control. I just need 100% control. And you don't get that if you skip.
Yeah.
And it's like I told you I have 4 different flute, I have way more than 4 flutes, but the pick, flute, alto, and bass flutes. I have a low C bass clarinet besides the regular clarinet that I play all the time. Low C has all those notes between low E and low C that my clarinet that I usually play have. So that's always like Groundhog Day kind of thing when I do have to pull it off the shelf, because it's maybe once a year at most that I'll have a gig that involves that. In fact, one of the tunes on Mark's tune, on his album, the Off and On, the most year, I'm playing bass clarinet on it. So,
Which one?
um,
You remember?
let me,
Uh, I'll tell you.
let me,
Early morning.
oh, you know what? It might be Sukcha. Might
Okay.
be Sukcha. And it's just, I'm not soloing on it, but I'm playing a line or something. Just out of being silly, rehearsing here at my house, I happened to have the bass clarinet out for something else that had coming up. And just for fun, I pulled it out and it was like, I like that. Let's do that. So,
I think
yeah, I
bass
think it was,
clarinet is gorgeous.
yeah, yeah.
I had a record, a small chamber orchestra of mine, and and there was a song that I loved of Benny Maupin's because he lives here, and
Ah,
he
yes.
would play this particular song that over and over again, and I just loved it. I like songs like that, Schofield tunes. I like these quirky melodies that really stick in your head,
Yeah.
and and also I had a vocal improv group, about 6 or 7 singers, called Fish to Birds. And so we had this very wonderfully talented pianist and arranger and writer, Bevan Manson.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, he used to be up here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Haven't seen him since he moved down there. Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, he arranged this song, Message to Prez, it's called. And I was lucky enough to hire Benny to play.
Very cool.
And it was really cute. You'll like this. So he was, playing, and it was very safe. And I said, Benny, I need you to be you. He said, it could be out. I said, yeah. I said, "Come on, man." And Bevan had arranged it so beautifully. Like he had the fish to birds do our thing around the melody, and then he kind of took the whole thing and made it a suite. Like it
Oh,
was
nice.
beautiful. His arranging is just beautiful.
Oh, cool.
He arranged most of that record for me, and it was really nice. Um, yeah. So. Um, Yeah, Benny Maupin with the bass clarinet is like, oh my God, it's just so yummy, 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 yummy.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a sound, and that's a lot of dense wood that makes up that bass clarinet, so makes it very tricky carrying it.
yeah. He lost that and all his stuff in the fire.
Oh, in the fire. Oh gosh,
He lost
so many
everything.
musicians that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, okay. So let's see. And so after technique, um, I'm trying to imagine what you move
It
into.
depends on the instrument. So with my flute and clarinet, I typically will pull out etude books, and
Okay.
and lately I've been actually just pulling sonatas and concertos off the shelf. I have a lot of music. So I've been kind of doing that. Typically when I do a lot of technique stuff that doesn't involve opening a book. And I got like playing Phantom of the Opera for 5 years, 8 shows a week. I'm playing just flute and clarinet. There's no sax on that. But as I'm warming up and you make everything nice and straight, you can't sound like anything jazz. But I would just make up whatever pattern and play it through the keys every day, in my warm ups in the pit, just do stuff like that. So I'm way in that mode of just making something up and playing it through the keys throughout the horn.
Yeah.
So after the tone stuff, I always start with tone stuff. on the instruments, and I'll just do full range chromatics. And one of the things I'll do too, I learned this from my
I'm
wonderful.
sorry. I need to ask you, what are you relating to when you say tone stuff?
Just sound, So I will often, I don't really do vibrato stuff on the clarinet. That'll all just be straight sound. Because when I do need a vibrato, which a lot of times I wouldn't want a vibrato on the clarinet, I'm so used to doing it on my soprano or alto sax, it translates. I don't need to spend that time working on that. But I am working on my saxes, whatever saxes I'm practicing that day, controlling the vibrato because that's a movement here to get that, and then the flute
Yeah.
is a whole different thing on that. So I'm working my pulses every day so that whatever I need in any situation, it's there for me.
Yeah.
So I call that maintenance, and I just do it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, obviously, if you have
Oh,
something.
something I was going to say, since your flute is out,
Yeah.
my wonderful, fabulous flute teacher, that Vicky McKay was her name. We just lost her a year or two ago. So she had me do everything 3 octaves. And the first thing that was kind of a huge adjustment for me, because I knew my scales for a long time, playing from C to C, 3 octaves in 12 keys. So if you're in D flat, you start on low C. And actually, we would go up to high D flat. If I'm doing an E scale, I'm going to start on low C sharp because at the time I had just a C foot. I have a B foot again. So I'll do it from low B. But you're doing the entire range, so you're not starting on the tonic. So when I first had to do that, it was crazy making. And so what I would do, I'm going to say for the first week that I was doing that, I would, in my head, I'd sing the notes that lead up to it, the note that I'm going to pick up. I'd started on the tonic in my head, and then, okay, no, I'm on the fourth note of this scale. But once I could do that, then it was no biggie. I do it on my sax and clarinet, same deal, full range. You just establish a range, and I do this. I get students that come on instruments that I don't play, and so we just figure out what a trumpet player's comfortable range. We don't want them to get blown out trying to do this, but where you're not always starting and ending on the tonic, but you're just okay. If you want to do maybe low G on trumpet to maybe, it depends on the trumpet player, C above the staff, something like that, and do it in 12 keys. It really helps your chops. It makes you not depend on the tonic. It gets you away from that magnetic pull to the tonic. Even though my teacher was amazing classical flutist, it's great for jazz playing. All these things that she had me doing. Doing diatonic intervals. Again, if I'm going to do diatonic fourths in F sharp, I'll start on low C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. So it'll sound goofy. Yeah, I'm constantly evolving the things that I've learned from her and flipping them around and doing them a lot of different ways. But I do it on all my instruments. And what I'll say to piano players is give yourself like a 2 octave range. Okay, C to C. You're going to do all your scales starting on C or C sharp, depending on the scale, where you're not getting to rely on the sound of the tonic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there for the instruments that you play, is there like a I don't know how to put it. So, kind of like a I'll start with the vocal. So when you're a vocalist, the ideal instrument position is upright, relaxed, not involved, because for us, basically the embouchure is in here, and so wherever you are in the range, it shifts in directions of resonance, but other than that, you shouldn't really feel anything because you can't feel the vocal cords.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, I was curious, in your instruments, is there a open kind of like sometimes I describe it as a glass, and then the water is the air moving and sound moving, but the glass is the body. It's always there. Is there?
Yeah, I really try to imagine that my windpipe is as big as this, that it's just this wide open thing, and to try to think about not adding in any tensions. And as you know, on the flute, like if we're going to do 2 pulses at 60, it's going to be our diaphragm. But if you get to 6 pulses at 60, it's going to be up here. And by starting at 2 and being really mindful of imagining that that's how big your windpipe is, when you are doing ha 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 ha, it still allows you to keep it relaxed. And that's the thing, is not to create, like I will get students that you'll hear in their air.
Yeah.
And that says right off the bat, you're tense. You know, you're chomping down instead of keeping this open.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think. I mean, I think so much about my air, and it's when I don't that I get into trouble. I mean, honestly, it's like when something doesn't speak, it seems like it's usually just because I was being lazy with my breath. But
Yeah.
and that's only, not even 5% of the time that I'm in that mode, because I just, everything is about the air. So I'm pre-imagining it like the execution is deja vu. This is what I'm going to sound like right now. This is what I have to do to get that sound.
Yeah. See, this is why air fascinates me. And talking to horn players, I get a little different thing, but of course, because my instrument is my body. So, but just the idea of gathering, sending, not holding air, all of that. And, for me, it's this open vessel, and then the vocal cords are really, they're working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but I have to have the air also, I don't know, pleasantly, happily, pleasantly just there and moving, so that the rest can work.
Right.
And then how I depend on certain things is the feeling that happens afterwards, the resonance, where is that? And all the subtleties. I mean, I'm 72. I've been singing all my life.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
72 and a half, this girl.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like I'm still discovering in my lessons, like, these subtle body decisions,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's fabulous. I mean,
Yeah.
I love going, oh my
Well, and
God.
I like to have an image of things. Like one of the things that I think about, and I will talk to my students, is imagine under the floorboards there's this big air source that comes all the way through your body and out the bell, not to here, but out the bell or out here, depending on what the instrument is. But it really gets you thinking about how your whole body is helping you make your music,
Yeah.
and when I am in that mode, it feels like so much more of an unobstructed just path that the air can just blow. But so many young kids will kind of play to their mouthpiece. They'll blow
Yeah.
to the mouthpiece, and it's like that's not where your sound is happening. It's what comes out. You
I
got to get it.
remember, what's his name? Oh, this is one of those
That's
moments.
another welcome to my world.
Yeah.
I can't remember names.
He was, I don't know if he's still around actually. He was like one of the top jazz sax players from LA, bald, kind of red hair, but bald.
Don
Um,
Menza?
yes,
No.
Don
Oh,
Menza.
so
Thank
he
you.
lost his red hair, did he? I haven't seen him since he lost his hair.
So I remember once he said that the young players were playing to the microphone instead of the
That
instrument,
sound.
and letting the mic just pick that up.
Right,
That
exactly.
that always struck me as
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's before we came on live talking about teaching online versus in,
Yeah.
and Mike Hatfield helping me suddenly having to transition online during COVID, is that whole thing. If we're not in the same room, I don't know what kind of sound. And I have to talk to my students a lot about that. It's like, you're across the room from me, I can hardly hear you. Now, how are you leading a sax section in a big band? It's like, I'll tell you if you're hurting my ears, but let's get some sound here. Let's get that air going. Yeah.
Okay, I'm curious. Something that came up for me recently in a lesson was the difference between playing soft and playing louder.
Mm-hmm.
And because, again, one of those layers, from where I've come from, has been a subtle push to get louder.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this particular lesson, my singing teacher said, no, it's just a hair more air, but it's the decision to play louder. And so I'm just curious, is there a similar thing in sax and flute, especially?
I wouldn't call it a subtle difference in the push. Although, the flute, it's softer and softest, honestly. It's so hard to have a big range of,
Yeah,
we work at trying to expand our dynamic range on the
yeah.
flute. But it's nothing like the range you can get on a saxophone.
And
Um,
but the sax also has to do with the embouchure, right?
to
Like how,
get, well, you have to adjust it because if you don't change it, and you blow harder, it's going to go like that. So
yeah,
you have to let loose with this if you're blowing real hard.
yeah,
But no, there's a huge difference in, like, I will often do a lead alto in a big band thing with some killer screaming trumpet section going on, where I'm giving it everything I have at certain points in tunes, and then doing a really soft, subtle saxophone ballad, but in a section. I'm
yeah,
going to play, if I'm doing a ballad feature, I'm going to be louder than I am when the section is trying to be really soft. So I have to adjust this, and this is where, if I'm not doing my work that I do, my tone work on a real consistent basis, those subtleties that require all of that, I'll say that sometimes whole notes are the hardest thing to do. Give me 30-second notes all day long, but it's those things that take so much control. So yes, this is adjusting depending on how hard the push is happening, for sure.
yeah. And flute is soft and softer, you said.
Well, that's kind
I
of a
mean,
joke.
yeah,
Soft, softer, and
yeah.
softest. Yeah. Well, I mean, compared, and what's really funny. There was a period. It was a short period where I considered maybe just focusing on jazz flute because there's so many jazz saxophone players. Kind of like Eddie Daniels. Like, he's a great flutist, a great saxophone player, but kind of, most people know him as a clarinet player. And I thought about it for a little bit. And then I realized, actually what helped me decide was flutology came up here to Yoshi's. 3 flutes and rhythm section. Great, loved it. But after a while, it's like, where's the saxophone? I need the saxophone. I needed that extra. There's an extra thing, intensity wise, on a saxophone that you can't get on the flute. I mean, I can scream, I can do all the, Jethro Tull, whatever. I can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
a lot of things, but it's still not like when you really pedal to the metal on a sax. I
yeah,
just realized that a range of emotion that you can do on sax versus the flute. If somebody, which thankfully I don't have to choose, said you must choose one instrument, it would be the alto saxophone. But I love everything. I love playing it all, and I'm fortunate that I don't have to make that choice because there are so many things I love about flute playing. One is just you have that easy 3-octave range that it's just there. I've done the work. I've got the
yeah,
chops up in that 3rd octave,
yeah,
to where if I want my line to go up there, and especially like when you're doing Tito Puente, watching Mario play, great flutist, he would go up to like high F above the super high C. He'd be like, his range would start maybe super high G, and he'd have his head joint way out because when you're up there, it's going to be sharp beyond belief. But that's how you hear yourself when you're doing Latin. When you have all that percussion going on, you play high. So, yeah.
yeah. Interesting. I have a friend here. Hi, Joyce, and hi, Mark, and hi, Taylor. Taylor has a question. In case you probably haven't talked about education, he just came on.
Ah,
What would you say is the smallest? I love these questions. That's great. I like the smallest decision, Taylor, questions. Those are
okay.
good. What would you say is the smallest decision in your process that actually reveals the most about your artistic philosophy?
Wow.
I know. Isn't that a cool question? The
But
smallest
but
decision,
it
not the
just
biggest decision, but
that informs my artistry. Boy, I don't know how to answer that. You go first.
yeah, well,
Huh,
that's
that's a
the
good
thing.
question.
Usually the question is the biggest, right? The biggest decision in your process. But the smallest decision, I think that takes, I think that takes some time to think about that. I don't think it's a kind of an on the spot answer because
Oh, yeah.
if you're,
I don't think it's a one aspect. You know, when we get back to originally learning how to play solos based on the melody, that's like enormous to me.
yeah,
Um, that allows me to hear what's going on harmonically, and it's informing what I might expect to hear. But as you know, when you're playing with great players, especially great players that you play with a lot, you know, there's all that freedom, harmonic freedom that will keep evolving, and I love that, you know, to just, even though that melody's keeping me, you know, kind of tied into what I expect to hear, but you make that adjustment harmonically to whatever just happened in that moment, you know, to find those. So that's really been huge, just finding the harmonies that way, the general outline of the harmonies that way.
yeah, that's,
But then the other thing, honestly, that comes, and we've already talked about this too, is air. What comes to mind is being true to what's going on with my air, because I can't get the sound. I don't get the sound if my air's not right. Other people might not know I'm not happy with what just came out
right.
when I didn't get the air right, because it's small degrees. But if you're not happy with what just came out, you're not happy to play. You're not happy to
Yeah.
make the lines that you're going to make. So I guess that's a really huge one, is that will inform how that solo is going to work out.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I know. Again, like I said, I'd have to think about the smallest decision. I know some decisions that have definitely affected me. I mean, I could probably list those and then maybe see the smallest decision that way. Um, Speaking from what you were just saying, um, the idea, and it's very subtle for a singer, that I'm analyzing my voice
Uh-huh.
while I'm singing.
Right.
That is not good. I mean, and when my one teacher told me that, he said, "Stop analyzing," and I said, "Oh, I'm not analyzing. I wouldn't do that." And then I realized, oh shit, I am analyzing my sound as I'm singing, and
Uh,
so that became like a challenge, to not analyze. And as we were speaking before, for me, it's like the communication is the leading factor that changes not only the actual flow of the communication, the phrasing, and the musicality, but also technique. Communication actually changes my technique.
right.
The idea that I'm communicating. It's and so, but that's not small. That's pretty
Ah, that's huge.
significant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I can't imagine not analyzing as I go. You know, I'm
yeah,
pretty dialed in and fixing as I go if something doesn't quite center the way it's supposed to go or whatever, and then you can make those
Well, see,
adjustments.
that brings up the feeling of being in the moment or not, or
Right.
being in the past moment, or the present moment, or the future moment,
Hmm.
because you do have to, there's part of you that has to be aware of what's going on. And, if you do go down the false road somehow, fix it,
Yeah. Yeah.
immediately,
Yeah.
and then, just continue on. So, yeah, so I mean, those kind of things, like I said before, you and I could be saying the exact same words, but of course our experience is different because we're different individuals.
Right.
But that kind of thing is, uh, yeah, so analyzation for me, what I was talking about in my voice was how is it's how is it sounding right now, and how am I feeling? How is my body doing something? And I don't want to be there when I'm singing because that really screws it up for me.
Mm.
It takes me out of the real artistic space,
Mhm.
communicative space, and flow of the
Yeah.
whole thing, you know. So that's for me, you know, and that's my description of my own analyzation, you know. So, yeah. So, uh, so you, uh, you're, you're teaching, are you teaching through a university or school right now?
Nope. I've done the last school I taught at was the San Francisco Conservatory of Music,
Uh-huh.
and it's been within the last decade that I retired from there. I lose track of time. So I've only been teaching privately, and I just made the decision. I thought this would never happen, that I am going to stop teaching privately at the end of May, June 1st.
Right,
I'll be 73. Um, so I can create some
excuse me,
time.
June
Uh-huh.
1st,
Are you kidding? Is that
May,
you?
May 28th.
Okay, you're the old one then. Okay. You got any advice for this youngster?
I'll let you know after our conversation.
Oh, that's pretty funny. OMG. Well, there you go, a sister Gemini, I should say. But being a grandma, I spend 3 days a week with my grands. I'm a very active musician, and like I say, I need time. In the practice room, I can't practice when I'm watching kids because I'm either watching them or they're sleeping, right?
Yeah,
So that doesn't happen. Um, so trying to get everything in, play the gigs, and still be there for my students and all that. It's just I tried to figure out how to make more hours in a day and days in the week. It's just not possible. So regrettably, because I have wonderful students. I mean, I love to teach. I have wonderful students, but I'm crazy about my grandkids. I'm crazy about getting to play. So that's what had to give. So
yeah.
I just let them know just a couple days ago. I sent out a note so they
It's
could get
a
on
big
wait list.
decision, actually.
Oh yeah, I thought about it for a long time about because especially when you have such wonderful students, you go, oh man, I really want to see them through, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm not the only one on the planet. There are plenty of wonderful teachers out there.
There certainly are.
Put them, we can all be replaced. I've learned that one along the way.
But somebody was asking me about workshops the other day because I used to do a lot of workshops. And not only me, but if people were coming into town, I would host them. I've done hundreds and hundreds of other people
Oh,
workshops, you know.
excellent.
And but in the old days, which was about maybe 25 years ago, I would have at least two workshops every weekend.
Wow.
And if you were a student of mine, it was great because
Yeah.
you were really seeing a lot of different
Oh, that's
information.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And then at some point, you know, over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that, the internet got so open and full of people teaching that
Right.
first of all, my the attendance was became less.
Yeah.
Like 20 would have been a good, really good workshop, and then 10 would show up, you know. So,
Yeah.
and then also my desire, you know, just with other things happening, and you know how your desire for what you're doing, like your teaching, changes, and so yeah. But I do occasional workshops, and so that's good right now. Just like jam sessions. I had a jam session for 16 years, every week, and then I finally decided to get off the jam queen, you know, title, and people were like, "Oh, you're a jazz singer." Yeah. I know I'm the queen of the jam, but you know, and so I do jam sessions, but you know, not as often. So, and that's good. It's good for
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Well, we just move through life and take a picture every 10 years and it's very different. So I'm not talking about this, of course this too, but just what we're doing,
exactly.
just keep evolving.
So, we spoke about body and soul
Hmm.
on the Stan Kenton thing, and you wanted to play this
Oh,
because
I only just, I was just thinking that was my first record. I'm on 200 records, right? But that was my first record I'm on, and I thought it just really represented Stan Kenton, but it's not necessary. It was really hard to choose some things to play,
yeah,
but I thought, I was so fortunate to get to do that record on Concord Jazz with Marion McPartland. I mean, our relationship was just such a wonderful opportunity. I met Marion in the 70s in Kansas City. That wonderful lead alto player that I learned so much from on the Kenton band became my father-in-law because his son was in. We had the first father and son in the sax section and the first woman in the band, all there in at once. So John Park is his name.
excuse
The
me. Sorry.
my wonderful mentor was
Yeah.
playing the Kansas City Jazz Festival, and Kim and I went up to see him play, and Marion was on that. And again, this is in the 70s. This is when you had landlines, you didn't have any
Yeah.
of the stuff that we have. So I'm backstage, I meet Marion, and she said, "I've been wanting to meet you." And it was like, "What?" She got my phone number, and the very first women's jazz festival in the world happened in Kansas City within that year. I can't remember what the timeline was with all that. And that was just beyond amazing to get to do that with her. And she ended up hiring me for various things, different. We did Detroit, we did Buffalo, we did. I played with her at the Carlisle in New York and played and stayed at the Carlisle. Yeah, various gigs, and she had me on a live record at Concord Jazz of hers, and then she played on my record that was done in the studio. So she was such a huge mentor in terms of being in the same space as her, just observing. She never preached. She didn't never said this is how you be a woman in this biz. I mean, she's a generation older than me, but just observing how she would handle things, I was just so impressed. I mean, she just had a real out there kind of personality. And one of my very favorite Marians would be when she and George Shearing were doing a duo concert. I was just there as a friend at Davie Symphony Hall in San Francisco and hanging backstage with her. And somebody came to interview her. And it was from either the San Francisco Chronicle or the Examiner, I don't remember. And asked her, "So what do you and George do backstage, when you're waiting to go on?" She says, "Oh, we sit around and tell dirty jokes." The headline was, "Marion McPartland is a vulgar lady." She loved it.
Oh, God.
But she was just such a blast to be around. I mean, just such a wonderful player, just such music but just cool, just totally cool and super generous. Because I had, with some of the things that we did, I had young babies, not when we first played, but, and having to support a family and all that stuff. And I dared to ask what something would pay because you're so used to that when you're like, am I home with my babies or out doing a gig? Well, part of it. She was so generous that you would try to guess what she would pay you, and it would always be more. I mean, it was, so many people that are in that price range don't share it with the band, and she always did. which you have to respect that too. You know that, yeah, that was a wonderful relationship to be able to have.
That's great.
Yeah.
Um, can we hear? I've been looking a little bit on YouTube for more stuff, but is there
Well, I did send you a track that we did
from her from that one?
from my record that she played on.
Okay, let me
Um,
get that. Let
was
me
that
get.
an email that I sent you?
Yep, I think so. Hold on. Bakes or no?
No, that doesn't. Let's see.
So let's see. Oh,
Oh, here we go.
we'll be together again, right?
Yeah, there we go. And so that's got Ray Brown on bass and Jeff Hamilton on drums. Peter Sprague did not play on this track.
We'll be. I'm just looking to see if by any chance it's on
If
Spotify.
I don't put things on Spotify, sorry. But
No.
so you can't play the track. I'm gonna grab you if you're trying to see the album, I'll be back. Let's just see if I can find the album here.
Okay.
Ah,
Yeah.
there it is.
Meanwhile,
Oh, it's too glary. That's not it. Yeah.
it's the other one.
Is this coming? Oh, it's coming backwards, isn't it? Yeah.
That's okay.
How's that for a 80s look? That's it.
That's you? Oh my God, is that cute?
Yeah. That's in the 80s. Yeah. I'm 30. I'm like right around 30. Anyway. Ray straight off of his Hawaii vacation, of golfing vacation.
That's really fun.
So this is very old school. This is Concord Jazz. I don't know if you've had people share how they would roll. Everybody flew in that morning. We had a 3 hour live in the same room. Did you like that take, Mary? Are we going to roll over it, or are you going to keep that one? It was $250 for 15 minutes, the tape, right? Okay, that's going on the record. Okay, next. So 3 hours, hour for lunch, 3 hours, record. And that's all in the same room, bleeding into each other. Scary as heck. I've got Ray Brands. Marion, I knew, so that was all good. But that's how he would roll: 2 3 hour sessions. Um, and if it was, I mean, a lot of the records were just recorded at the Jazz Festival. So the one that I'm a guest on, her record, it was at Concord Jazz. So a lot of them went like that. But yeah, this was in the studio. 6 hours later, we have a record.
That
Yeah.
was how it was done.
So
Ross Tompkins, a really great pianist,
yeah,
he um, he made, I don't know, 5 solo recordings. He would go in, play, just play 8 songs, and that was it. Just
yeah.
one time through.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was how it did. And bless his heart, Carl Jefferson. I mean, I think I did seven, only one as a leader, but 7 different records on the Concord label. And then, as you know, it moved south to LA. And what's his name? Norman Lear, I think, maybe owns it. I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole business model changed. When I put out my Brazilian Footprints record, I thought, well, I've got this association with Concord. It was like, nope, you have to be somebody to get on the label now. You need to have like ridiculous sales and all that good stuff. So
Yeah,
that's fine. I just put it out myself.
yeah.
But,
Which brings me to a question, like business points
yeah.
of view. Yeah. In general, what's your point of view of what's happening for artists in business today, in the business world, as far as like making CDs, putting them out, having distribution or a record label, or paying somebody to promote it.
Good question. It just seems like nobody wants to pay for stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I knew, I paid a lot of money for my CD. but that wasn't the point. The point was I'm on so many records. I just wanted one that I was totally proud of, and I am, of the Brazilian Footprints CD, which is not what you just played. Um, never expecting, and I would never, this is 2008 that I put out at a cost of like 50K. Um, you know, Jazz, sue me for $1 million. Good luck. No, just kidding. Um, it's it's tricky, and but the funny thing is, I have a son who this month will turn 40, killer bass player. In fact, on my Brazilian Footprints record, he was 20 when we did that. Um, and when he declared he was going to be a musician, so mind you, that's 20 years ago. I felt like every other parent when their kid says, "I'm going to be a musician." It's like, oh, I mean, it's one of those like, oh, okay. And then, it's really funny. That week I realized he was out playing every day. And so many high school kids, they think all they have to do is show up to band, go to music school, and then they're going to be getting all these gigs and everything's going to be great. It's like, do you realize if you're not doing that now, it's not going to suddenly happen? So I realized with him that, yeah, the business is completely different. Because when I was really young, everybody had a band for everything. You didn't have a wedding without a band. You didn't have a Christmas party. The business is all, there was work for days. There was so much work for musicians. But I just saw with Scott that, oh, yeah, it's just different. And he does different. He does all the tunes that I would do, but he also does hip hop, and he does all these other things that, are outside my realm. And everything was great until COVID. And then, like everybody else that's just playing bass, busy bass player, suddenly having no income whatsoever, and having the unemployment people not recognizing you as fitting a box, so you have to make a phone call that you can't get through. It was like, that was like really eye-opening for him. And he's still playing bass, but only on great gigs and selling real estate. So I don't know what to say, because all of the things I've always thought that I was bulletproof, because I do so many different kinds of things. So if something ends, I still have all these other things that it all fills it all up. Thankfully for me, I was beyond needing the income when COVID hit. I, just coincidentally paid my house off March 1st, 2020. 2 weeks later, the shutdown happened. But I think if that had happened, 10 years before, when or whatever that would be, maybe 20, when I had kids that I, supporting, and no way to support, no way.
Yeah.
Couldn't teach, couldn't, because back then we wouldn't have been able to even go online. We just would have been unable to make a living.
Yeah.
So that all went away, because I've always said that to my students, if you have a lot of different skills in the business, you can make it work out, but not when you have a pandemic. It's,
Yeah.
so yeah, what to say? It's very different, but yeah, it's really hard to say. And getting back to the writing thing, that certainly is a good skill to develop. And I tell my students, write, don't be like me, write, because that could be a way
Yeah.
to have an income stream.
Nan Schwartz, when she was young, her parents were friends with like Henry Mancini and those kind of people, and she had a very bad accident, and she was in the hospital for a few months, actually, mending. And so Henry and those various people would come in, and she was talking to them about arranging, and he said, compose. And she started to compose and arrange, and not even knowing that women were not really in that realm.
Uh-huh.
She just didn't even know, and she just was doing it, and now she's one of the most notoriously great arrangers and composers
Nice.
there is. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it helps to be encouraged by somebody like him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, um, but if you did another record of your own, would you spend the same amount of money? Would you would you make CDs or records? Would you pay for promotion? Have you thought about that?
No, because I'm not there. I'm not there. I just have to see what it's like to have two days that are not committed in a week.
Right.
Yeah, no, but it's just kind of one of those things where why am I not doing this? But like I say, I have a lot of PDFs to download for upcoming gigs and learn. And like I said, I love that. I love having those things. And sometimes the pile is big, things to learn. And nothing that I do involves something where I can hide. I'm always in a very exposed place, whether I'm leading a section or just a soloist myself. I can't just be fourth tenor in a band or something. I'm always the one on top. So, not that I have the personality to want to skate or not do my best.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to come in playing at my best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Should we?
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, should we listen to one of your
Yeah,
some of your Brazilian?
I think I gave you Baixixi,
Yeah.
Baixixi. It's pronounced just like you see it, Baixixi. Yeah, it's a Bayonne and Baixixi. It's a kind of combined, but that's something that Marcos, the piano player, that he's my introduction to Brazilian music, and I have to say, he came into my world at a time where I was being bored playing standards. There are 32 bars, ABA,
Yeah.
go up a fourth for the bridge, all that. It was just like, and to suddenly start playing his music that's just got such intricate harmony, and unpredictable harmony and unpredictable forms in a way, just it just came at just the right time where I just needed to get my rear kicked. And that association with Marcos led to touring with Flora and Ayrto when I was pregnant with my soon to be 40-year-old, is when we started playing together. He turned 4 months. Well, his first flight was at 5 weeks to Santa Barbara to play with him, and I think we went in the studio at that time. He turned 4 months old during a month-long European tour with them. So he got a good. I mean, Ayrton would entertain him with salt shakers in the restaurant kind of thing. So Marcos, that was how that happened. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Toninho Horta. Toninho
Oh yeah.
Horta is, yeah. So that was my connection to Toninho, getting to play with him, and we played around here. Went up to Seattle, scheduled to go to New York, but I now had two little ones that couldn't go with me, and I'm in Seattle realizing I can't do this anymore. Fast forward, my son is playing with him, playing bass with him, and this past
Oh,
summer, Scott was playing. I almost called him my other son. Scott was playing three concerts with him. One at San Jose Jazz Festival, and then in Yerba Buena, in San Francisco, and yeah, somewhere up in Napa or whatever. Anyway, he's playing that first gig, and Tonino said, "Say hi to your mom." And Scotty said, "She's coming Thursday." He says, "Oh, she should play." Now, mind you, that's my 40-year-old that he was a toddler the last time I played with Tonino. It's not funny. So I said, "Great. So see if ask him what I should play." And he could never get that figured out. So Scotty sent me all the music. I printed all. Have our reunion there at Yerba Buenos. So what do you want me to play? He says, "Well, we'll play one tune and then bring you on for the special guest for the rest of the concert." So I played the whole concert, no rehearsal, haven't played with him in decades. It was so fun. It was just, I
that's
mean, his music, that first week that we did, when I first played with him, there was a club in San Francisco called Kimball's. I don't know if you ever experienced Kimball's
I
up here.
just remember the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So we played a week there at Kimball's, and I know like the first time I played him is just like stay in your lane, do no harm, trying to solo on his stuff, right? Just trying to not make a fool of yourself. And it was like halfway through that week at Kimball's where everything clicked for all of us. And it was just one of those magical nights where you're floating off the stage at the end of it. I'll never forget that. It's one of my really big high points of my life is having stuff that's just so crazy hard, and getting beyond the do no harm into making music, right? So it was just such a thrill to get to play with him again with all these decades of experience since then, and having
Yeah.
it not be like, oh my gosh, it's kicking my butt. It's like, yeah, I can think musically about this and not how do I manage these changes kind of thing. So yeah, he's really his music is just really such a delight to hear and play, on either side of the stage. Yeah.
So
So
in this
yes,
record, who was playing?
so Marcos is playing keyboards. He's the one that he produced it. He wrote a few of the tunes on it. Marcos Silva, and then my son Scott Thompson is playing bass on it. Celso Alberti is playing drums, and when we toured with Flor and Ayrto, he was playing drums, and Ayrto would play percussion. When we were on that tour. And who else? Piano, bass. Oh, Chico Pinheiro on guitar. Do you know Chico? Yeah, he's my adopted son. Yeah, yeah, we're very close. So, yeah, pretty good band.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
all the flutes. I'm overdubbed over myself.
All right, here we go. Do you have a CD or
Oh, something to show
record
you?
you can?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Go ahead and start it, and I'll go find it. That's not it. By Shishi is it?
It's not?
No,
Oh, what is that?
I have no idea.
'Cause-
It's not me.
Oh, well, no, it's in your email. Um,
That's by
okay.
Shishi? Well, somehow
Well,
it's
let's just say it's in your email. Maybe you put something else in there. But
okay.
anyway, this should be it.
Okay. Oh yeah, you were playing Tito Puente.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, this is it. Again, it's got like there. There's the back.
Oops. Sorry, I clicked off of it. Let me try that again. There we go. Yeah, Mary. Oh, what a great song.
Yeah, and actually for the San Francisco people, we're going to be playing at Mr. Tipples at the end of this month on Sunday the 25th. So
I'm going to write that in the comments there.
yeah,
And
Marcos and Scott will be playing a different drummer, but yeah, three of the four of us are on that record.
what date is that again?
I think it's the 25th. It's the last Sunday of the month at Mr. Tipples. It's in North Beach. It's a wonderful jazz club.
Okay. Cool. Hi, Terry.
That was quick.
I know, isn't that funny? 2 hours actually goes by
Oh,
fast.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on. It was really
Oh,
a
thank
pleasure
you. Back
meeting
at you.
you and hearing about your whole life and perspective. It was great.
Well, I always enjoy talking to people about how they go about things too. Like I said, I'm still learning, and I think that's the point that we never stop learning, so it's always good to see how people go about things.
I agree.
Yeah.
And by the way, next Monday, I'm interviewing Jeff Hamilton.
Ah! So 12 to 2 next Monday. I wonder where I'm going to be. I'll have to look that up. Well, I love that guy. I love that guy. He's such a great musician and good guy.
Yeah,
I'll have
yeah,
fun. That's great. Small world. Well, we already talked about that small world.
I know.
We all
Well,
have one big
thank you
mother
so
up in the
much.
sky. Thank you.
Happy
Really
New
appreciate it,
Year.
Kathy. Yeah, back at you. And happy birthday. We'll be
Thank
thinking
you.
about
Happy
you.
birthday too. I'll be
All
coming
right.
home from Japan on my birthday, so
Oh, how
it'll be
fun.
fine.
Well, I'm not teaching on my birthday. I would normally be, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Take care, and we'll hope to see you again.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Bye bye.